Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Elizabeth Gadley. We start with breaking news out of Chico, where a day-long standoff came to a deadly conclusion. A Butte interagency investigation team will spend most of the night on scene at Burnap and East Lassen, but we're told that SWAT team members actually shot and killed the suspect right around 7:45. Another terrifying night in a normally quiet Chico neighborhood. Last night it was a deadly standoff. Today, residents at Burnap and East Lassen were evacuated again after authorities found a pipe bomb in the suspect's home. Action News reporter Cecile Juliet joins us with details. It's a weekend students and law enforcement officers in Chico circle on their calendars well in advance. Labor Day weekend festivities kick off tonight and Chico police are ready for it. And there's good news from the fire lines tonight. The destructive Ponderosa fire is expected to be fully contained by tomorrow. A 3-year-old girl is in the hospital tonight after being bitten by a pit bull this morning in Oroville.
Elizabeth?
Kara Allen, hundreds of people have been out here in front of the Chico Walmart to learn some very valuable lessons, but also to have fun. I never did try to fry an egg.
We could try it next week.
We should try it.
103.
Officers have been trying to coax a desperate man out of an RV parked at a popular truck stop. The GPS device will give you the coordinates, but they're only accurate within about 6 to 30 feet, so it'll still take a little bit of looking before you can find the actual cache. The fire department doesn't even have enough room for all of their vehicles, and when their main engine is parked inside, volunteers can barely get to their gear. Finally, tonight, more than 1,000 in Chico strapped on their running shoes and stripped off their clothes, all for a good cause. I was out there and I actually saw more of Chico than I ever expected to.
I bet you did. A whole lot more.
And that's all for this edition of the CW Action News at 10. Have a great weekend.
Action News starts now.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Elizabeth Gadley. It's a weekend students and law enforcement officers in Chico circle on their calendars well in advance. Labor Day weekend festivities kick off tonight and Chico police are ready for it. Action News reporter Court Klopping caught up with students and authorities today to find out what the busy weekend has in store.
Court Klopping, Action News.
Two things police wanted to stress is that anyone planning to float should have a designated driver in their group and that party goers should avoid confrontations with strangers. Labor Day marks the end of boating season on Lake Shasta, and many locals are expected to hit the water this weekend, but the landscape may look a little different than the last time you were there. At the beginning of boating season, water was just a few feet from the dam's crest. Now it's about 70 feet lower. Entire islands have appeared from the depths of the water, closing off some channels and creating hazards elsewhere. Officials say boaters should be wary of the conditions because it's easy to run aground, especially at night.
The best thing is to familiarize yourself with the lake during the day, especially if you think you're going to be out past darkness. There is a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit a half an hour after sunset, but even at 15 miles an hour, if you're not familiar with the lake, you could easily run aground.
Now, this won't be the busiest weekend on the lake, but the Sheriff's Department will still have 5 boats on the water to ensure boater safety. And whether it's on the lake or on the road, get ready to feel the pain at the pump over the Labor Day weekend. According to GasBuddy.com, consumers in 45 states, including California, will likely see the highest fuel prices they've ever seen this time of year. The average price in California is $4.14 a gallon. In Chico, it's slightly lower at $4.09 a gallon. Both are far higher than the national average, which is $3.82, which is itself 18 cents higher than this time last year. And unfortunately, it looks like prices may edge even higher in the coming days. A break isn't expected until oil and gas companies restart their rigs in the Gulf. They were temporarily shut down due to Hurricane Isaac.
Action News starts now.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Elizabeth Gadley. Another terrifying night in a normally quiet Chico neighborhood. Last night it was a deadly standoff. Today, residents at Burnap and East Lassen were evacuated again after authorities found a pipe bomb in the suspect's home. Action News reporter Cecile Juliet joins us with details. Cecile.
Good evening.
Thanks, Cecile. And the day-long standoff and deadly shootout with police last night was just the latest in a number of confrontations Wayne Renner had with authorities. Action News reporter Brian Callahan has more on Renner's recent past.
I'm Brian Callahan.
Also today in Chico, a foot chase lands a bank robbery suspect behind bars, and authorities say his mistake was returning to the scene of the crime. Police got a call from an employee at the Umpqua Bank on East 6th Avenue in Esplanade. A suspicious man was in the area. Officers used dogs to try to track him, and less than an hour later, they had their man.
A bank employee
Now here's the unusual part. The bank employee says she recognized him as the same man who robbed the bank a few weeks ago, and that's why she called police. The suspect's name is Ronaldo Perez. They don't know if Perez was planning to rob the same bank this morning, but they did find a black mask during the pursuit that he had apparently dropped. Perez hasn't been charged with bank robbery, but he is being held for resisting arrest and parole violation. Gunshots in Keswick ignite a fire for the second time this summer. The blaze broke out around 11 this morning at a shooting range on Iron Mountain Road. Dry grass, manzanita brush, and pine were like kindling to the flames and allowed the fire to quickly spread to 58 acres.
We have a slight wind on it today, which is causing it to spread a little bit quicker than normal too. Just here, I think I heard it on the news this morning that we're going to reach maybe 100 degrees and humidities are dropping. So that right there is making it tough for firefighters to help contain this.
Investigators say the blaze was caused by gunfire, but exactly how the spark was created is under investigation. The blaze is now 90% contained. Fire back in June at the same location was also caused by gunshots. Firefighters are hoping to contain the wildfire burning near Costella by Saturday. The ward fire started early yesterday morning near the Sims campground in Shasta County and has grown to 550 acres. It's now 40% contained, but voluntary evacuations remain in effect for the Hazel Creek Road area. The Department of Fish and Game got a report of a bear spotted in Hamilton City last night. Officials say they know of 3 bears that have been living along the Sacramento River for the past couple of years and continue to monitor their activity. Now, wardens say it isn't unusual for bears to become more active during the harvest season when prunes and other fruit are more plentiful. But as long as the bears are behaving normally and don't pose an immediate threat to the public, wardens say they will let them be. Turning now to weather, it was a toasty day, so what's it going to be like for the rest of the week? For the latest on the conditions, we check in with Chief Meteorologist Chris Kuiper in the AccuWeather Center. Chris?
I was on my way out, and the clerk called me back to get my receipt.
Moments later, the gunman walked up to Timothy Kirsten, raised his 9mm pistol, and pulled the trigger. The gun misfired, so he shot again, and Kirsten fell to the floor.
When I got hit, I was out apparently for 6-8 minutes, and I got up and walked out and drove the car away.
To look at him now, you'd never know he was shot in the back of the head. The only signs left are 2 small scars, one in the back of his neck and the other in front of his ear.
It cracked the skull, and I had, I think, 5 skull fractures that went through the sinuses, and there was air in the cranium and the skull and all that. But I don't, you just get back on the horse and get going.
And that's very much Kirsten's attitude. He says not only has the ordeal made him appreciate his life, it made him stronger emotionally and physically. Through it all, he's kept his sense of humor.
Physiologically, I'm probably stronger and better than I was a year ago. Okay. I don't recommend this as a therapy, okay? In a shot therapy.
Kirsten admits that not remembering the day does make it easier to have a positive outlook.
The others were all conscious. And I went out like a light. Okay. And so I didn't have the grueling experience of being a hostage for 3 hours or 4 hours. Okay. That's an ongoing grinding trauma.
1 year later, all 3 employees who were held hostage inside this bank are still working here. They say community support is what's gotten them through it.
Bernie's always been a special branch, and the employees are very special. It says a lot about the support that they have from the community.
Pretty much everyone involved says they're focusing on the future and trying not to spend too much time looking back at the past and that fateful day.
We're feeling very good about, reaching this milestone and moving